Well, welcome back, Fungo Banner fans, to another episode of your Pacific Northwest Fungo Banner podcast. I am Eric Sorensen. I am joined here for the intro with Jason Jarrett. Jason,
what's
welcome
up?
To the intro. You've been on one of these. You've just been on.
No, I haven't.
Bones part of this thing.
This is totally new, Eric. But hey, new things are great. So
Absolutely.
Mix it up a little bit.
Well, unfortunately, our other compadre is up in the plane right now, flying to California, where it's supposed to be, I think, 70 degrees tomorrow to play opening day for the St. Martin Saints. Kelly is not going to be with us today. I'm kind of jealous. I'm not going to lie. I think it was 40, 42 here in Ellensburg today, and I was cold. The wind was blowing, and it was quite chilly. So I'm sure you were nice and toasty in the Tri-Cities, but we're not going to be anything what Kelly's experiencing down there in California.
For sure. He'll probably come back next week with a nice good tan on the show, so he'll be looking good on camera.
Opening weekend sunburn for Kelly, that's for sure. But we are joined by Kevin Agnew from Pullman and Brian Jackson from Graham Kapowson. Guys, welcome back. You're the first repeat guys to the podcast.
Well, I guess that's a good thing. Thank you.
Dang right.
I was waiting for you, Coach, there to say something. Age before beauty, right? Thanks for having us back on, guys.
Yeah. It's a nice tint to my beard.
Absolutely. Well, we're fired up to have you guys back on because we just got home from spending the weekend together in Moses Lake at the Washington State Baseball Coaches Association Clinic at the 6, something that was started planning last fall. And I know there was lots of anticipation leading up to this. We've not lost Kevin. He's so excited for it. It's awesome.
I'm sorry.
For you YouTubers watching.
I'll mute myself.
Oh, you're just fine, Kevin. This podcast. This is the fun. Usually we have Kelly's cat running across the screen. We're missing it. So, but no, something we started off talking about, and when you guys called me and I was able to help out with this thing, I'm so fired up that it happened. There was lots of anticipation leading up to it. Like, how's it going to go? How many people are going to show up? Even leading up to Friday when the Snoqualmie Pass started snowing and we're getting updates like, oh, it's not very good up here. And I'm thinking, oh no one's going to make it across the pass. But I think it was a fun weekend. And the reason I wanted to talk to you guys about it tonight was because I think it went so good and so well that more people that listen to the podcast, I hope next year when this thing gets put on again, that they come and experience what we were able to experience with the brotherhood of the coaches from the Pacific Northwest, Washington State, and even guys coming in from Idaho. Just such a fun weekend. And if Brian, if you want to start off first talking about, kind of the purpose of going behind this, and Kevin, you can chime in whenever as well, and then talk about just how exciting of a weekend it was.
Absolutely. First and foremost, thanks to Kevin and Eric for really getting it going and the energy and the passion behind it since the fall, since we really decided to pull the trigger and go with it. It's been incredible. And so Kevin deserves really all the credit. And so I think hopefully he knows that, and big thanks go out to him. But, Kevin and I think we had been talking about it for like 3 years and been kind of throwing out ideas. And it was something I've been thinking about since I got into the association. I mean, we wanted to have kind of a barnstorming. We developed that idea, or a symposium on the West Side. And I mean, we drew it up in 2 or 3 different ways for years. And then Kevin and I, it just seemed like we just didn't make the time to get it done. And there was a little bit of a COVID thing there in 2020. And then, so after that, we just kind of chatted about it here year in and year out, and we're throwing ideas out, and we drew it up on paper, and just finally we got to the point where it was funny. It was, I don't know when our phone call was. Maybe it was in September or October of 2022. And I'm kind of a goofy guy, but I said, okay, Kevin, we're going to count to 3. And on 3, we're going to say yes or no. And then, so 1, 2, 3, and we both say yes. And so we said, okay, we're going to do it. And then right after that, I go, okay, Kevin, hold on. Let's think about it over the weekend. And then we'll get together on Monday again. But that's kind of how it unfolded. And, I guess the vision really is to put something together that's a totally professional event for our coaches in Washington State. Maybe capitalize on what's being done in Portland. I've been going down there for over 20 years. And, they really treat us right down there, but it'd be really nice. And we heard a bunch of feedback about, how great it was to hear from our coaches in the state. And so hopefully, like, this is the first year, and I'm guessing, I can't wait to see it on year 10. So that's about it right there.
Yeah, no, thanks, Coach. I to be honest with you, I didn't do a whole lot other than just call coaches and ask them if they wanted to come, do this. So, and then you guys kept saying on the day of, like, do you need help? What do you need? What do you need? And I'm like, I don't know. Let's let these guys go talk baseball. What could go wrong? So, it's kind of funny because I was talking to my wife and I said, geez, this was great. And from my perspective, everything went very smoothly. Guys seemed to be engaged and enjoyed, the topics and the speakers and all that sort of stuff. The facility was incredible. I think every guy that walked in there said, man, our school needs one of these. But I said, gosh, can you imagine how great it's going to be when we start organizing this thing in August instead of November, because I think that was like Veterans Weekend that we were like, yeah, 1, 2, 3, here we go, and so it all worked out, and I think it's the start of something that's going to be sustainable and something that's going to last a long time. And I agree. I think having guys from Washington, from the Northwest in general, that were up there talking about coaching high school kids, I think was very powerful. I love going to clinics and listening to professional guys and college guys talk about the things that they do. It's always interesting. It's always cool to hear, a guy that's doing something really cool and you go, oh, we do that too. That's kind of cool. But to hear all of those guys, from Grant to Wyatt to Alex, to all the North Kitsap guys and Coach Weibel, every one of them talked about, like, these are the limitations we have at our school, and this is the solution that we have to get our guys better within those limitations in our high school. And I think everybody in the audience went, yeah, we have similar issues, and this would be perfect for what we're trying to do. So I thought from that standpoint, it was really positive. And, we had a bunch of guys back in a room talking baseball after a long break. So I think that was pretty special.
Yeah, I think that was one of the biggest things I've heard, because we all love going to the big clinics, right, and listening to all the big name coaches talk. But to be able to sit there with someone that has the same budget as you, the same number of players, the same conditions, I think you can always get lots out of the other clinics. But that was one of the biggest things I thought about the whole thing, was this is real life stuff for us. Like, we're going to walk away with, notepad full of stuff, and it's going to be, relevant to what we're trying to do in our own programs.
Yeah, I thought that was really what I liked about it. It's just that hometown connection, really. You're talking to other coaches. I mean, Brian, I don't know how many state, championship head coaches we had there that, this last weekend, but I think I saw a post that you said maybe like 8 or 9 coaches. But yeah, it's so reassuring when you hear a coach talk about something that you're doing within your program. It's like Kevin's saying, and you're like, we do that, and everybody's goal is to get that first state championship, and knowing that, hey, I am doing the right steps. It's kind of those, sometimes it's just those little reminders that kind of encourages us to say, hey, we are on the right path. I am not going losing my mind. I'm not doing something out of the box. I'm not going crazy. But then, maybe picking up a few things here and there. So I really enjoyed it. It's just that hometown connection. And I think that dynamic and, kind of getting some new connections and, some new numbers and, Twitter feeds and all that kind of stuff you can follow, and just so that you build in those relationships, because ultimately at the end of the day, it's about the relationships that developing in the game. And that's what makes the game of baseball so fun and enjoyable. It's the relationships that we have established, and seeing these kids do phenomenal things, and seeing these coaches that, try new things and have success. So I was fired up and was ready for more. So I absolutely loved it. So.
Yeah, Friday night when you guys got done, we went back and got some dinner and stuff, and my dad had driven up, and he was like, you could have had like 3 more speakers tonight. I'm like, thanks, Dad. It was good, right? But I totally felt like that. It was like, man, we could have done a lot more, but I know that we wanted to kind of, keep it simple this first year, and we had some really outstanding speakers both days, and I think we've got a lot of things coming back that we're thinking about, to improve on next year and continue it and hopefully continue to grow it. And I think we're on track with that.
Yeah, that was fun. I remember coming home Saturday. I was extremely tired, but it was worth it because of, the long day and the long night before of getting to talk shop. And I think one of the coolest things that sets this clinic apart from any other one that I've watched or been a part of is the fact that we're in the facility that, like you said, walked in. Like Scott Parrish, the first thing he said is, I could do a practice in an hour in here, right?
Yes.
It's so easy to do that. But to be able to watch things firsthand, and a big thanks to Jameson Lang, Ryan Dahlman, and Chase Tunstall, who run that facility. And Chase is also the Big Bend baseball head coach. And he got us how many guys? Like 6 or 7 guys. Yeah. And the fact that you could go on an infield and see the drills that are being done, that was great. I mean, to see that the hour set aside, but then we also had Kevin jump up there and start leading drills in a hot stove that turned into one of the coolest hours of a clinic that I've ever been a part of. That was completely raw. It was awesome. Each coach that wanted to go share something, they walked out and shared, whether it was a little tidbit here or they actually were using the Big Bend players, right, to be little pawns in our game of chess to show the drills. And I had chills filming that thing. I was really hoping I didn't screw up the filming. So that's on me if you guys watch that video. But it was just such a cool thing that I think sets it apart from anything else.
It was. I just sat in awe when Kevin when there was maybe that pause for a second, and Kevin just took it and ran with it. I'm like, oh my gosh, like this guy is a teacher. And when you were watching it, it was impromptu, and he was breaking it down step by step, skill by skill, manipulating the players and the facility. I just kind of sat back. I was like, I felt like I was watching Star Wars or something. It was just super cool, Kevin. And I know I told you that, but that was rather remarkable, as a matter of fact. And it just goes to show
what you were watching was an 8th grade history lesson, Coach. So that's where that comes from.
Yeah, that's right. It's total pro. If you can get 8th graders, to not pick their nose and put their gum under the table, you had it nailed already. So that was really cool. That was awesome.
I think to add to that too, you're right, Eric, like how many clinics you actually go to and you actually see hands-on. And for those coaches that missed it, we actually got to see hands-on action of, coaches coaching, players, laying it out. And this is how we do this drill. And, Kevin, you did a phenomenal job of kind of leading that hot stove moment and getting some of those other coaches in. I think next year we'll see probably some more of that. I think there was a little sense of like some tender, spokenness there. As coaches were talking, I saw a lot of commotion standing off the sidelines, and just hear coaches are sharing like, hey, we do that drill, or hey, write that drill down, so, it was just phenomenal to see other people share their insight on what they do on the field and kind of getting that, as the season's gearing up, right? Like what is everybody doing? We don't have the possibility. We don't have the options of just dropping everything and driving across down the road or driving up to Ellensburg or Pullman or, wherever you go, to watch a coach's practice. And so seeing that really was really cool. And so the coaches that did miss this season or this year, man, next year, you don't want to miss out, man. That's what's really, really good. So.
Yeah, I think the one thing that I had the biggest question mark about this year with this was that hot stove session. I wasn't sure what to expect. And, I think a lot of times you go to a clinic and you get guys that are like, I just want to learn, I don't want to present or that kind of thing. But then you got a bunch of guys that got involved and, like Coach Munhall, I've heard him talk before about the way that he does his 21 outs. I mean, that was awesome. And I love how he does that. And then the Richland infield coach jumping in there and showing us, how he, because every year I come in and it's like, okay, we need to teach these guys kind of from square one how to field a ground ball, because I got the point guard over here that hasn't touched a ball in a year. And then I've got this kid that's been driving up to Spokane, getting lessons a certain way to field a ground ball. And to hear that, the Richland guys jump in there who are, one of the premier programs in the state of Washington for a long, long time. And they say, here's how we do this. And we make every one of our kids do this. And we go through and I thought that was great, and then having the young guys there, the college kids, to help us with that was pretty cool. And then, I thought it was cool too that we had some coaches jump in that I've known for a long time, that have been doing it for a long time. And then I saw a couple younger coaches jump in and throw some things out there. And then I saw Coach Walker, Glenn Walker, he's retired and took the time to drive up there and be there, and then jumped in and got involved with that. And so I thought that was pretty cool. And like I said, I wasn't sure exactly how that was going to go, but hopefully people got something out of that. And I think we got some things to think about in the future with how we run that, but I thought overall it was good.
Absolutely. And the other thing that I really enjoyed from the weekend was taking away the camaraderie of the coaches. And I think it was Kevin, your dad, and who was he talking to? Wyatt, right?
Wyatt, yeah.
On Friday night leaving. And I was probably should have been doing something to help, but I was just sitting there listening like, wow, this is cool. We got so much knowledge and experience in this room. And that led over into the part of the reason I didn't sleep on Friday night, because it led over to the after hours thing. It was just, you start to get people talking. And it was just, I thought that was really cool. And I thought it was a step in the right direction. And there's always been good, people knowing and your connections in this and what we're doing, but it was cool just to build even more, right. And have more people in your phone book now that you can reach out to and talk to about a lot.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I felt that way too. And, a lot of times what I feel like, I've only been to the ABCA one time, but I was sitting in like seat 999 and in the back of the room for a couple of those sessions, and then heading to the Portland clinic and some in early on a long time ago. I haven't been to Seattle for quite a while, but as you said, Eric, it just felt like it was like a bunch of guys that wanted to share about baseball and really what it should have been. Real guys, no pretension, no pretext. Nobody's better than anybody else. It was just, hey, let's, like we kind of already mentioned, but let's talk about what we do and how we can compare what you're doing to what we're doing. And I mean, like you said, I must have 8 or 9 or 10 pages of notes, and what a cool thing to be able to do that. And like you said, you walk away feeling like, oh my gosh, how come we're not having it again next weekend? Because I'm going if it's there, and so, why can't we do this more often? It was such a good feeling. And I think we saw that a little bit in some of the feedback that some of the coaches are getting. Really, some of the, if we have to say the negative or the worst criticisms are maybe coffee next year, and so, yeah. But I think, Kevin, you mentioned that on Saturday morning, but I mean, the feedback is just absolutely amazing. And so that's pretty cool. And then I really enjoyed that part of it. I think guys felt welcome, and, like you say, from Idaho and from all over the state, that it was very natural and very easy. And that means a lot, I think. And like you said, it wasn't 9 state championships there. Are you kidding me? You got guys there that are learning that, that have got the trophies. So.
Yeah. Not only were they there learning, but they were sharing. It wasn't I'm not going to tell you my secrets, but they were willing to put themselves out there. And I thought that was just so cool to be a part of. Also a big shout out. Devo Bats was there.
Yeah.
Jordan DeVore, sharing the deal. I don't know how many times the fungos fell down from people looking at him with the checkers dominoes, but a big shout out and a big thanks to him for taking time to bring his family down for the weekend and even give a door prize, give away a fungo. But so this is not going to be a very long episode, but as we start to wrap this thing up, what are some of your guys' final thoughts that you might want to share about what happened this weekend? And if I know that there's a lot of meeting to do planning for next year, and I think that the wheels are already turning for next year. And like you said, it's Thursday night, and I was thinking, man, should I be packing a bag to head to Moses Lake tomorrow? Let's go. Let's talk some more baseball. But what are some of your final thoughts on this thing as we wrap up 2023 and then lean into 24?
Yeah, I got a couple, and I'll let Coach Jackson kind of wrap it up. One thing, you mentioned Wyatt and my dad, and they were down at that table with me having dinner there afterwards. And I don't know how many times because those two, they played baseball together at Bellevue back in the 70s at Bellevue College. And I can't tell me how many times I've heard the story of them going into McNeil Island to play the prison team and that kind of thing. But it's better every time you hear it. And, you know, we're all sitting around laughing and listening to that and talking about baseball and, you know, how the old school is better and all that kind of stuff. And so one thing I would like to do next year, and I've already kind of got the wheels spinning on it, is I'd like to have a panel like we had with you guys, but have it with all Hall of Fame guys and retired, not retired, whatever, but guys that have that green sweater, get 4 or 5 of them, 3 or 4 of them, whatever, and just get them up there and have them talk about, like, share their best stories from baseball. Like, tell us what happened in the 80s and early 90s and stuff like that. And so that's kind of one thing I would like to do, because I always enjoy listening to those old guys talk, and you always pick something up, and then you always are entertained because they have great stories to tell and stuff like that. And so that's kind of one thing. And hopefully we can get a few of those guys up there and make that happen.
You know, I'm so passionate about the Coaches Association, and Kevin, you already said it about, or pardon me, Eric, about the camaraderie. And I mean, I could talk forever, but I'm so proud of what we did, kind of in a long, short time, and just coming away from that event super energized. I don't know about you guys, but I lay awake and lose sleep every night. And then 5 minutes into the first practice, it's like, oh my gosh, the clouds part, and this is the greatest thing ever. And I felt that way coming out of the clinic. I was just like, I was so nervous heading into the clinic, and how is it going to work? And, you know, we going to get over the snow? But I don't know. I think, you know, in the final analysis of it, I just think that, and looking at the feedback and the comments, everybody came away with just that kind of feeling that, hey, this is about baseball. It's about kids. It's about how we can be better and fine tune our instruction and our relationships and our overall program. And again, I think maybe giving back a little bit to the state. You know, let's make this thing happen. Let's be a premier group of coaches in the nation. And so I know that's maybe a little bit stretching it, but I think about those kinds of things. And I'm just proud to be a part of this group, and I feel really lucky to be a part of this group. And so I think that's what, you know, we can sum it up. And like Kevin said, we're going to go gangbusters on this thing, you know, in the next year. And I can't imagine what's going to happen in the future. And so, like I said, I could go on and on and on and on. But one last thing that was really cool, and I know Kevin and Eric have seen this, Jason, but the feedback that we got, I mean, was lengthy. And every coach, one of the questions was, would you recommend this to your coaching colleagues? 100% yes. Would you be willing to speak next year? I think it's like 60%. And they recommended guys from all over the state, all kinds of topics, and everything was just like, yeah, let's get this, do this. It's going to be so exciting. I want to see that. And I want to hear the old guys. I want to hear the new guys. I want to keep seeing drills. And so even on paper, the energy is super high. And so thanks a lot, fellas, for pulling this off and making it happen, and what you guys are doing over there from Pullman to the Tri-Cities to the Windy City of Kittitas. It's pretty darn cool. So thank you guys.
Absolutely. This was a blast. And if you're listening, you haven't filled out the survey, Coach Jackson, he sent it out to us all that were there. As I think on Saturday, please fill it out. You know, to make this thing better, we read that kind of stuff, and that kind of stuff is what makes it better, because we know that, like, we care, and we know that you care, and we want to just make this thing grow, because it's already a pretty cool thing, and it has a lot of space to go and be a pretty amazing thing.
Hey, Coach, one thing, sorry to cut you off, but before we wrap up here, I wanted to just mention we did film
yes,
all the presentations, and so I'm working on that right now, and then we're planning to make it available to all the guys that attended, and then thinking about how we can make it available to guys that did not as well. So if there are people interested in that, keep an eye out. Coach Jackson has his email for all the coaches in the state. And then, you guys can track me down on Twitter, my email at school or whatever. And we can get that. And I hopefully I'll have that by about the start of baseball season. And then we can start thinking about getting that out maybe later in the spring or something like that, when guys are starting to think about wrapping up their seasons and moving to next year and that kind of thing.
Absolutely. I can't wait to see that. I know that the guy behind the camera did a great job. Phenomenal. You got Hollywood written all over it.
I'm glad you did, because I kept walking away talking to people in the back.
You were the stationary speakers, right?
It sounds good, but I don't sit still too long too well. So
no, it was hard to sit still through that thing. That's for darn sure. So, well, good luck to Oh, go ahead, Coach. Yeah.
Sorry. I just thought of a funny story. You mentioned something earlier, and I can't shut up. But I was so tired on Sunday. You were mentioning it, that I think my wife and I ran a bunch of errands and whatever it was that we were doing on Sunday, going around, and I think I ran 3 red lights. I mean, it was like I was in this kind of hazy, foggy, excited thing, and she's looking over at me going, "What on earth is going on?" And so that was kind of a little bit of an interesting moment on Sunday morning. But we made it.
Hey,
we made it through.
I stayed at home. I couldn't even. I was trying to. Remember that night I was trying to write little notes on what I thought, and it was Monday or Tuesday before I could really get that thing out there. But no, that was awesome, and thank you, Brian, for everything you did, and thank you, Kevin, for getting this all lined up, and it's just so fun, and I feel so fortunate to be a part of this whole thing, and it's so cool. I think if you weren't there this year, you missed out, and make sure you put it aside when the dates get released to get that hotel. Great continental breakfast, by the way. It was awesome. I needed that, and we'll get some heat in that building, and we'll get some coffee for you guys next year. Jason's bringing Dunkin' Donuts, so
there you go.
We'll be fired up and ready to roll for a full weekend next year. So,
hey, the one thing too to add to that, Eric, too. Remember, it's what a great and easy way to get your coaches' minutes too.
Oh yeah,
the coaches out there that need to get it. I mean, I don't know. I brought one of my assistants up with it, and because he had to get up on his minutes, and he was like, "Dude, this is great." I mean, it's just stress-free, easy going. I mean, I think the whole Friday night thing and hanging out, however late some of those guys hung, I think maybe him and I were the first to leave after 11. But it was just it was fantastic. It was really cool.
Yeah. No. It was awesome. I just can't. I'm still giddy over the whole thing. And like I said, if I could grab Moses right now and everybody meet us there,
just do it. Let's go.
But yeah.
Heck yeah.
So as we wrap this thing up, good luck to everybody. As their seasons kick off. By Kelly on the road right now, heading to California, and all the D3s and I believe NAIAs have opened up already, and it's just cool to see Twitter feeds full of game box scores and players that we're freezing, and seeing people from the Northwest heading south to play in California or wherever and enjoying themselves and being warm. But until next time, I believe our next episode maybe even a presenter from this clinic that I think is going to light up the airways for us. So I can't wait for that episode. Thank you to all the listeners. Please share and spread the word, the Fungo Banner. We'll be back.